Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is said to have many different twists and turns, as well as surprises in this film by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, what's really great about Episode 9 is that we do know that this movie is going to deliver a lot of callbacks to the originals and the prequels, in a sense, in order to move a lot of the legacy characters, as well as the sequel trilogy characters forward from start to finish of this movie. Now, without a doubt, a lot of people are really looking forward to seeing exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to utilize the character of Luke Skywalker and exactly how he will be used in Episode 9 specifically, in a specific way that we have never seen before on the big screen, which honestly should be pretty exciting. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for this movie. Now, specifically, a description of Luke's Force Ghost and Rey talking to each other inside of the Jedi ruins on some unknown world, where Luke is explaining a moment in his past when Rey brings up the beyond that leads to Luke telling an additional story of the night of his burning Jedi temple. It said that the visuals between both Rey and Luke transition to a flashback where Luke is explaining his encounter with Supreme Leader Snoke, where Luke is kneeling down next to R2-D2 with tons of dead bodies of his new generation of Jedi around him, where the environment in front of Luke begins to change into Snoke's throne room, where Snoke is said to warn Luke about the power of the beyond, and that it's not to be underestimated. It's described to be a sequence in which Snoke is sitting on his throne delivering dialogue to Luke, and reassuring that Luke has failed, and warns him about the great new power that many have been searching for decades. It's said that in the sequence, Luke has his green lightsaber ignited, where Luke is said to appear very angry and also warns Luke something of great power is on the horizon. The sequence is said to eventually end with Snoke and Luke's Force bond ending where Luke deactivates his lightsaber, looking at a now burned down Jedi temple. So I really want to go over a couple of parts about this. Now, we do know that the Beyond is going to play a major role in this movie in some way, shape, or form. We're not exactly quite sure exactly what it really is, down to the specifics. But we do know that J.J. Abrams is bringing in the Beyond in an actual big way of storytelling for Episode 9. So I want to go over this particular sequence here. Now, it all starts off with the conversations between both the Force Ghost of Luke Skywalker and Rey on some unknown world, where there's a lot of Jedi structures and Jedi ruins, where Luke is essentially explaining a moment of his past where it eventually transitions on over to the same exact sequence that we saw at the very middle point of The Last Jedi, where Luke is actually telling Rey about, Ben Solo's betrayal against him and everything around those lines. Now, in this particular moment, we actually get a sequence in which the environment around Luke begins to shift, where both Snoke and Luke eventually have a Force bond between each other. Now, this most definitely would be a great way to show us the origins of the Force bond ability. Just a couple of days ago, actually, we went over how the Darth Plagueis holocron is linked to that exact power that Snoke actually gained it from. So the power of Force bonds, are very interesting in the Star Wars sequel trilogy that J.J. Abrams will be exploring in greater depth in Episode 9. And this is the moment in which Snoke warns Luke Skywalker about the Great Beyond, or just the Beyond, if you will. So, what is the Beyond? Now, this basically tells us that Snoke actually knows about the Beyond, or has been to the Beyond at a certain point in time in his past, that actually may have caused a lot of damage to that character. Now, he actually does describe that the Beyond is not to be underestimated, and he says this to Luke Skywalker in this sequence from what's described. So, what I like about this particular scene, though, is that it's an extension of what we got in Episode 8, where we see Luke Skywalker witnessing the burning temple of his Jedi. And I think that, when we look at Episode 9, the fact that J.J. Abrams is really trying to expand the flashbacks that were already pretty much established in both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, the fact that he's trying to extend this and really connect it to some of the other sequel trilogy characters, like Supreme Leader Snoke and, of course, Luke Skywalker, I think is honestly brilliant. I mean, this is probably the best way in order to bring back Snoke in the flesh in the form of a flashback where it's basically Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost talking to Rey, telling her about a specific moment in which he talked to Snoke and Snoke warned him about the Beyond, and that's exactly how Luke learned about the Beyond itself. So this whole entire conversation between both Rey and Kylo, or should I say Rey and Luke, actually begins with Rey bringing up that dark presence that she feels, and questions about the beyond. So the fact that Snoke is warning this, to Luke Skywalker, warning him about the beyond, and that it's not to be underestimated, and the fact that he is reassuring Luke Skywalker's failure, it tells us that this is most likely J.J. Abrams setting up that grudge between both Luke and Snoke in a very, I guess you could say clever way, where you're going to now view The Force Awakens in a different light, where you see Snoke talking about Luke Skywalker on and off, and the same goes for The Last Jedi. So I really like this whole entire, aspect of Episode 9, where they're trying to tie all the movies together, especially both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and kind of changing our view on those two different movies. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.